My name is Cindy Dalglish. I consider myself an education advocate here in Surrey and in the province, supporting education for the K-12 system. I would say the biggest needs is discrimination and inaccessibility to an education system. There are children being excluded from the classroom every single day in this province because of their special needs diagnoses. We have education assistants that do have no standards of practice in order to form and become an education assistant, which means you could be taking a 4-month program or a 10-month program or a 2-year program and all have the same role and job. Because there is no regulatory body, there is no standards of practice within this province, and jurisdictionally, actually nowhere in Canada. So I've been working with the Ministry of Education to try to lobby for standards of practice, and we're about almost a year into that lobbying, and they are working through a bit of a research and deep dive on what it would look like, what would be the implications, wanted or unwanted, and how to move forward with something like that. We are definitely short of education assistants, which I believe is why the Surrey School District developed the 4-month program. They used to have a 10-month program to produce an EA. Now they've shortened it to 4 months. However, that's all that they're doing is creating warm bodies, not specialists that are trained to work with children with behavioral disorders, with medical conditions, with diabetes for all that matters, let alone someone who may be on the autism spectrum. Continuity right now in this, again, using the Surrey School District because it's the one I'm the most familiar with. Right now, how they determine which EA is going to get a position or to work with a child is they do what we call the cattle call. So imagine yourself in an auditorium such as the Bell Centre or the Queen Elizabeth Theatre for all that matters. And there's a big screen up on the front of the stage, and on there is a bunch of numbers. And they're calling out the person with the most seniority. It's going to get really loud in here for a second, I think. But you think of, they're taking someone with the most seniority, and they're calling out numbers like it's bingo. But those numbers represent a child. And all that you've been given for information about that child is whether they hit, kick, scream, have tics, all the things that we would give negative connotations to. They don't talk about, well, really like Spider-Man. So essentially what's happening is they're not giving what strengths the child has. They're only talking about the negative or the challenge that a student has, therefore missing a picture of how to work with that child. So anyone going in is just going to be like, oh, hits, kicks, screams. No thanks. I'd rather take this higher functioning child over here, or this one that's just medical needs, or. But it's not that the EA gets really that much choice. It's all based on seniority. So it could not necessarily be the best fit. It's just whoever came up next and took the path of least resistance, for example. Continuity is essential for a very small percentage, but that small percentage is very important because if someone doesn't have continuity of care and they don't have a connection with the person they're working with, they then have those behaviors that we don't want to see in a classroom that disrupt the whole classroom and all children from learning. So it's really a win-win situation when we have continuity of care. I'm one of the very select few people who gets a window into the lives of these families that are dealing with these challenges. I don't have children with special needs myself. I have a cousin who has Down syndrome, but he's a grown adult. He's only 10 years younger than me. The challenges that they're facing daily are enormous. And it's because we do not set those families up for success, or those children up for success. We make them the scapegoat. When an administrator feels that they need to send a child home for the day because of behavior or whatever, they'll quote that it's underfunding or under-resourcing. But I think it's partly that, and I think it's partly a lack of appropriate training, appropriate fits, And what I'd really like to see happen is an admin, in order to get the attention of the Ministry of Education, to really get that impact and to really make positive change, I challenge admin to, instead of sending home the child that had disruptive behavior, to send the rest of the class home instead.